This is the homework video on solving equations, and I want to give you a little bit of instruction, and then tonight you're actually allowed to work with me, but I want you to make sure that you understand what's going on and that you ask me any questions tomorrow. If you have any questions, don't just be mindlessly writing things down, because you're going to need this, and we're actually going to play a game where you will be more successful in the game if you know what's going on here. So to solve an equation means to get the variable by itself. So there are some steps that you need to do when you're trying to get the variable by itself. First, you need to simplify, and that means to distribute. I'll show you that in one of the problems. And it also means to combine like terms. This is the very first thing you do. Some equations are really easy, and they don't have any simplification required. So it's not always required. It depends on how complicated the equation is. And then you undo things that are with the variable, and you always want to remember to undo first addition and subtraction stuff, things that are being added to the variable or subtracted from the variable. And you do that from left to right. So you decide what to get rid of first by whatever's closest to the left. If addition's closest to the left, then get rid of addition. If subtraction's closest to the left, then get rid of subtraction first. And then last, you're going to get rid of multiplication and division. And you also do that by left to right. So if division's closer to the left, do it first and then do multiplication. Always left to right. Okay, let's try a problem. This problem is 2 times the quantity x plus 3 plus x equals 24. Pause the video and write that down. Now remember, I said that you always have to simplify first before you can get the variable by itself. This problem requires you to first distribute. You know that you're going to be distributing anytime you see the parentheses. Distribute just means to multiply twice. So I have to do 2 times the x, and 2 times x is 2x. And then I have to do 2 times 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. And now I'm just copying the rest of the problem down. The 2x came from the first multiplication in distributing. The 6 came from the second multiplication in distributing. This x came from here, and the 24 came from here. Now my next thing to simplify is to combine like terms. This is an x term with no exponent, and this is an x term with no exponent, so they're like terms. I highlighted them. You can add a 2x to a 1x, and if you do that, remember there's an invisible 1 in front of here. 2x and 1x would give you 3x. So now I have 3x plus 6 equals 24. Your paper is going to look exactly like mine. You're bringing things down every time. You're remembering to bring your equal sign down every time. You're showing what you're doing on both sides. If you don't want to highlight, you can always draw a loop from here to here to show that you combined them, but I want you to show all of your work and get in the habit of thinking about what you're doing so it becomes an automatic process. I now have the equation 3x plus 6 equals 24. The 3x came from the combining of like terms. So now I have to get rid of addition and subtraction first. So this equation has the variable x, and it's got 6 added to it. The best way to get rid of positive 6 is to subtract 6. And if I do that on the left side of the equal sign, then I have to come over to the right side of the equal sign, where the 24 is, and repeat that process, subtracting 6 on both sides. Well, 6 take away 6 is 0, and I like to cross it out. And that only leaves me with 3x on the left side of the equal sign. And over here, 26 take away 6 is 18. This always means multiply when there's a number next to a variable. The way to undo multiplication is to divide. So I'm going to divide 3x by 3, and I'm also going to divide 18 by 3. 3x divided by 3 is going to give me, this is going to cancel. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times x is 1x. but 1x simplifies because 1 times x is x to just x. The reason it simplifies to 1 times x is x is because 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 10 is 10, 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times x is x. And so I don't need to write that 1 there because everybody knows that 1 times anything is itself. Over here, when I do 18 divided by 3, I get 6. My final answer is x equals 6. Problem number 2. My equation is x. This means divided by 2 plus 2 equals 24. Jot that down. Now, do you see any simplifying? Do you have to distribute in this case, or do you have to combine like terms? No, because there aren't any parentheses, and there's only this 1x, and there's only this 1, 2. There's nothing over here that you could combine together, and there's nothing over here you can combine together. So in this case, I don't need to simplify. I can skip that step and go right to getting the variable by itself. I got to get rid of this plus 2 first. Always get rid of addition and subtraction first. And the opposite of adding 2 is subtract 2. So I subtract 2 here, and I subtract 2 here. Now this is going to be equal to nothing because 2 take away 2 is nothing. So all I have left over here is x over 2. I bring down my equal sign. 24 take away 2 is equal to 22. Now, this is a division problem, and the opposite of dividing is to multiply. You have to remember that whenever you see a x, there's always a 1 in front of it unless you see some other number. There's always that invisible 1. So I'm going to make that 1 show up so that you can see what I'm doing here. I know in math that if you multiply a fraction, 1/2, by its reciprocal, you will always get 1. And I'm going to show you that really quickly here. So let's take the fraction 1/4. And let's multiply it by its reciprocal, 4 over 1. A reciprocal just means if you flip the number, so I flipped this number, that's its reciprocal. Well, when you do 1 times 4, you get 4. And when you do 4 times 1, you get 4. And 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. In math, that's always true. A number multiplied by its reciprocal is always equal to 1. So back to my problem. I'm dividing, I have 1/2 here. I have to multiply it by its reciprocal, 2 over 1. And that's going to cause that to be equal to just 1x. So you notice over here that these 2 times 1x is 2x, and 1 times 2 is 2, and then 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times x is just x. Well, if I multiply this side by 2 over 1, I have to multiply this side by 2 over 1. Well, why didn't I write the 1 underneath the 2 on this side? Because 2 over 1 is still just 2. It's just equal to 2. And 2, I'm sorry, times 22 is equal to 44. So now I have my answer, x is equal to 44. Okay, remember, in math, anytime you have a fraction and you want to get rid of it, multiply it by its reciprocal. Okay, number 3. On this one, I made it a very simple problem just to reinstate the idea of multiplying by reciprocals. So here I have x over 9 is equal to 3. This 9 came in later as I'm solving it. X over 9 is equal to 3 was the original problem. I'm going to move this down and write it neatly. X over 9 is equal to 3. Well, so if I put a 1 in front of the x, like this, you can see this is 1/9. And what's the reciprocal of 1/9? It's 9 over 1. And if I multiply 9 times x, I'm going to get 9x. and 1 times 9 is 9. Those 9's will cancel out because 9 divided by 9 is 1. That gives you 1x, which is equal to x. And over here, I also have to multiply by 9, because if you do it on one side, you have to do it on the other side, and 3 times 9 is 27. Number 4, x plus 2 times the quantity 6 minus x plus 2x is equal to 24. Make sure you copy down the problem. On this problem, I can see very quickly that I have some simplifying to do because I have parentheses. I also have an x here, and I have an x here, and I have an x here, which means I'm also going to be combining some like terms. First, I have to distribute. You cannot combine your like terms until you've already distributed. Distribute first. Distribute just means to multiply twice. Once, twice. So, I copied down the x, I'm just bringing it down. 2 times 6 is 12, bring it down. 2 times negative x is negative 2x, bring it down. And then I brought this 2x down, and equals 24 down. Now I can see that I have these like terms right here. And what's interesting about these like terms is they add to 0. They're a 0 pair. We've talked about that. So if I get rid of these, because they're a 0 pair, and when you add them you get 0, all that's left on this side, the left side of the equal sign, is x plus 12. And I bring down my equal 24. So now I got to get rid of the 12, so the opposite of adding 12 is subtract 12. 24 take away 12 is 12. And over here, because this canceled out, all I have left is my x, and x is equal to 4. And that's it for tonight's homework. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.